I think we have 10 now, so should I begin, Haran? So thanks to Haran, I am all gobbled up. Thank you. The meeting will come to order. The time is now 5:30 p.m. on Monday, July 19th, 2021. This is a regular monthly meeting of the District of Columbia Commission on the Arts and Humanities. My name is Reggie Van Lee, Chairperson of the Commission. I will now call the roll. When you hear your name, please answer present. Stacy Lee Banks. Stacy?
Present. I'm working on my camera. I'm sorry.
We'll take your voice until the camera is ready.
Okay.
Poor Masters Barry.
Welcome.
Thank you. Maggie Fitzpatrick. Juanice Floyd. Rona Wolf-Friedman.
Here.
Alma Gates.
Here.
Natalie Hopkinson. Kimber Minketti. I'm sorry, did you hear Natalie? I'm sorry, Kimber Minketti. Marianne Miller.
Present.
Maria Hall Rooney. Maria?
Hi, it's Mariah, and yes, I'm here.
I'm sorry, Mariah, so sorry about that.
Quite all right.
Cece? Carla Sims? Hector Torres?
Here.
Jose Alberto Euclid? Gretchen Warden?
Present.
Derek Younger?
Present.
And Reggie Van Lee. So we do have a quorum and we can proceed. A quorum is present. This is a meeting of a public body held in open session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, DC Law 18-350, DC Official Code Section 2-571-2-580. The meeting is being conducted remotely using the Cisco Webex virtual meeting platform and is being live streamed to the Commission's YouTube channel. An electronic recording of the meeting will be available for viewing online following the conclusion of the meeting. I will now read the land acknowledgement. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We stand on the ancestral lands of the Nacotchtank and the Piscataway people. We pay respects to their elders, past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths as any and all public events, and to use such truths to guide the legacy of this Arts Commission. Thank you. The agenda for this meeting was previously circulated. Is there any objection to this agenda? Hearing no objection, the agenda stands as adopted. Next is the approval of the June 21st, 2021 meeting minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing no correction, the minutes stand as approved. So now I'd like to offer a welcome and a few words. I will not labor you with too many things, but did want to share this being my first meeting, my inaugural meeting. Let me begin by expressing how excited I am to serve as your chair of the DC Commission. My fellow commissioners, the staff, the entire arts and humanities community, and very importantly, the citizens of our nation's capital, our DC residents, the taxpayers who fund this commission's work. Since my swearing in on July 1st, I've had an opportunity to meet with senior staff, Haran, David, and Jeff, have one-on-one discussions with 7 of the commissioners thus far, and I'm scheduled to have one-on-one discussions with all commissioners over the next 2 weeks. And I will join a staff meeting later this week. I also visited the office on last week and was able to meet some, but not all of the staff. So I've had some immersion since July 1st. Importantly, I spent 6 months every Tuesday evening for several hours each session from June to December, chairing the task force on equity, inclusion, and belonging, working with a team of commissioners, staff, and community members totaling 18, conducting surveys with almost 1,000 of our past and current grantees, and 3 focus groups with community representatives to arrive at 44 recommendations for how the commission can become a leader in equity, inclusion, and belonging across the nation. It's this body of insight that gives me confidence that we can become that beacon on the hill that ensures that every DC resident experiences the transformative power of the arts and humanities. I look forward to the journey with you and the destination we will jointly achieve. With that, since we do not have any registered public comments, I will move to the director's report and Haran.
Thank you, Reggie, and good evening, everyone. It's good to see everyone on the screen. Ms. Cora, I'm glad you're safe. We've been seeing you on Twitter. Being an Igbo warrior, I said, that's what you were doing. Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to do a quick talk through the, and welcome, Reggie, that's the first thing I should say. I'm going to do a quick talk through the report, just highlights for now, talk through some of the IDEA reporting that we've done on the work we've done so far. The first item is the return to work. That's been a process that we've managed well, I think. David Markey, the deputy director, has been at the forefront of really sort of creating a supportive structure for staff members to come back to the office per our mayor's directives for July 12th to be the return date. At this point, we are working with a partially telework situation by option. Most of our staff members have opted for a partial telework situation. And so it's been a good outcome, and we're sort of, back to full operations this way. The grants and public art programs, we're up to our eyeballs at this point, as you all know, because you're serving as panelist conveners. We're up to our eyeballs with panels most of the summer. It's going to be a heavy sort of 5-day-a-week panel schedule. But we've had some healthy numbers coming in on the submission for all of our grant programs, some of which mirror last year's. The Arts and Humanities Fellowship, 467, almost to the number, is the number of applications we got last year for fellowships. Since this report has been sent, our public art building communities submission numbers have come in as well. Those are at 15 organizations have applied, which is larger than we've ever seen. And so already we have gone, higher than the number of applications we've ever received up to this point since last year and even before. So that's a good sign. It means some of the outreach is working, word is getting around, and folks are equipped to apply for these various grant programs. The Crown Act mural, if you all have a chance to go out and see it, is really beautiful. It's in Anacostia on the Busboys and Poets wall. That building is owned by a Black woman business owner. It's about 2 or 3 stories high. And I haven't had a chance to visit the inside. I think I will. But the mural turned out really beautiful. The Crown Act is about respecting natural hair styles for African born and other folks who have hairstyles that are curly or that are naturally maintained naturally, dreadlocks or braids or any of these. And so it prohibits race-based hair discrimination. So we were there for the inauguration of that mural. Our public art team, our legal team pushed and pulled all kinds of miracles to make this happen. So shout out to them for making it happen in a really quick and timely way. Moving on to the updates on all of our inclusion, diversity, equity, and access progress. The recommendations, the updates that we've sent out has a little bit of a summary up top. We've completed 6 items. 2 of the items are ongoing in the sense that those are practices that will be a part of how we make our grant making. So they're ongoing without a finish date. And then those in process will be moving along to completion. We have made some progress in figuring out sort of who we might approach for translation services to provide some additional sort of announcements and preliminary grant information in various language access languages. And so we are hoping that we will perhaps work with a group that will help us with the translations soon. We have provided certain sort of workshops with ASL interpreters and closed captioning features for the workshop. So that's gone well. The diversity data we're in the process of collecting upfront with the applications. We have conducted sort of the background research as to how other state arts agencies are doing this, and have embedded some of these demographic questions as part of the application for FY22. We will be looking to analyze this data, hopefully with a data analyst soon. Since all of the grant programs are closed now, we can begin that process. So that's going on well. The Clean Hands Requirement Certification, that was just a clarification piece with the Office of Tax and Revenue to confirm that applicants who have outstanding issues with clean hands are still able to apply to grants. And so they have confirmed that they will be as long as they have a payment plan worked out with the Office of Tax and Revenue. The matching grants requirement adjustment recommendation, most of our grant programs for FY22 have removed the match grant requirement. Though there's probably one main exception that I can think of, which would be our Public Art Building Communities grant program. The way that grant program works is by providing a cap on award. There's an award cap on the money that's provided to grantees. If projects cost over that amount, usually grantees make up the difference. So that would be a case of them throwing in some matching dollars for those art projects, public art projects. Otherwise, the most grant programs no longer have the match requirement as part of their award agreement. For communications outreach, I won't go into much detail here, but I've shared, I think in the last couple of months, how well our engagement initiatives have gone, from mainly through running these virtual programs on 3 different tracks: CAH in the community, Artist Showcase, and Business of the Arts. We've enhanced the existing programs that we've run in Business of the Arts, really expanding sort of the menu of resources that we wanted to put out through these programs. And we've really made good headway, I think good progress with some of the public art bank presentations. And we tried this idea of pairing up poets and musicians for National Poetry and Jazz Appreciation Month in April. That went really well. Some of these ideas we got from the community. We asked artists what they would like to see happen, and they indicated that networking and working with other artists was of interest. So we've kind of based our ideas on the feedback that we've been getting from community. We are at the stage of evaluating all of this. We will, in the next few months, as panels wind down, we'll make an assessment of our of our programming efforts for community engagement and come up with a new plan for the next year, for next calendar year. Social media outreach has been good and robust. Quite a few of our community members are involved in some of the arts related programming that are happening online. There was a very successful program in one of our exhibitions where folks were sending in photographs of the city that was handled by that curator. And so there was really good engagement, interactive engagement with the community. Also, as you know, our commission meetings are now being live streamed and they're on YouTube and on the website. So a lot of transparency and access built into that. The definition of equity and inclusion that the task force worked on and provided for the commission has been used and adopted in our various grants and public art guidelines as of FY22. The grants and public art team have brought a lot of good ideas to bear in some of the work that they've done, adjusting schedules and accommodating various schedules of applicants. Everything from trying longer windows for grant cycles as possible to extending deadline timelines and really providing hands-on support for folks who are drafting applications or in the process of submitting applications so that everyone in the process felt supported through the process. What else? I'm scooching down. The website, there was a recommendation to ensure that the website was redone and included some interactive capabilities. The website, as you know, was done around, I think, February. It was launched. The new website has been launched. We're going through and sort of fine-tuning content and adding content as best we can, periodically. Our social media accounts are showing good activities. We're pumping out information. Folks are responding to some of what we're putting out, the content that we're putting out, and so there's been good activities there. What else? Community engagement. There's more further down in the recommendations to interact more with the community, answer questions and field some questions that come in. This too is going well so far. We've conducted 2 really successful town hall sessions with the community. We are thinking ahead about how to support folks through the reporting, the final reporting stages of the grant, which will be now until September 30th. We're thinking ahead also about how we onboard new grantees. So we will provide some workshops, specific workshops for folks that are finishing out the fiscal year and those who are onboarding. So there's some good thinking there. There is also a thought to embedding staff members once the city opens completely, really having a set day of the week where our staff members are out in the community. We are talking closely with DC Public Library since they have a good infrastructure as to where we can go. But the thought is to have 1 day a week set aside and we'll do the 4 quadrants of the city and have staff embedded in the community. Not related to grants workshop, not necessarily coordinated with the grant cycle, but just to have folks out there to introduce what the agency is doing and answer any questions and begin to think about folks who'd be interested in applying and providing just general overview information on our grant programs to the community. There's a recommendation to develop a plan to conduct a survey of community needs and the Commission's performance every 2 years. I think Reggie will have more specific plans around that, but as we already have an endorsed strategic plan that will run for 3 years, the thought is to have at least an annual report that shows progress towards that 3-year set of goals. And so we'll have that, of course, with the IDEA committee now being in place. We'll have quarterly reports that happen around IDEA and task force recommendations as well. There's a set of recommendations around panel diversity and management. Our grant managers this year have made a lot of effort to recruit widely. We have made the application forms available online. We are also collecting demographic information from our panelists, so we have a sense of who all is applying and becoming a panelist. As you know, right now it's a voluntary service, but hopefully after August and after this, our BSA recommendations have passed through council, we will be able to make payments to panelists. So that's pending the August decision of council. But we're hopeful that they will agree that we need to pay our panelists for this service. We have also done a lot of good work. Thank you, Gretchen, for recognizing sort of some of the scheduling and orientation work that staff has done for panelists this year. We have put together a very robust sort of set of slides for panelists to, really explore implicit biased issues and learn about IDEA values if they don't already know, so that this is top of mind as they're looking at applications and evaluating applications. There's a category of direct financial support for BIPOC and LGBTQ and arts administrator organizations. Some of this remains to be hammered out for the next year. We met today even around what that might look like for BIPOC organizations. We are keeping an ear to the ground to really be responsive to what they're saying is their need before we think through a capacity building piece and present it to the grants committee and the IDEA committee and onto the larger commission group as well. What we have done, though, if you all remember back in December of last year, I guess, or September of last year, when we did the NEA partnership application, was to put together with Natalie, Commissioner Hopkinson's help, put together a traditional art partnership application that focused on go-go music. The NEA has granted us $17,500 in funding. But I think what's more important than the money in this case is this institutional sort of link that we are creating, working with Howard University, and also just the fact that Howard University is going to be the first historically Black college to serve in this capacity for coming into a partnership with the State Arts Agency is significant. That GoGo has this visibility from the NEA is also significant, I think. So I'm hoping that we can keep building on this momentum. We'll be circling back with Natalie and working more closely to begin this process for this year with these NEA funds and our matching funds. I think this might be one of the last items. There's an item on equity and inclusion targets. This is the metric has been included in this year's applications all across all the grant programs. So about 30 to 40% of an applicant's score will be based on this IDEA criterion, and panelists will be scoring against that when they're considering these applications. We're also working towards creating, sort of a menu of choices for various organizations to identify where they are on this equity journey, and so that they are well equipped to reach the goals that they present to us as goals for IDEA work. And so that's a little bit further down the line, but we'll be working on those items as well. The very last item is to add the equity lens to the Budget Support Act. and challenge the or challenge the law, but also provide an alternative funding approach, which we have done. As you all know, we've worked through a set of alternative legislative cohorts that council is looking to adopt. What this will do is provide more general operating support funds for organizations. It will do so in a way that we hope will stabilize small and medium-sized organizations in the long haul. And it also is the type of funding that is flexible and very useful for organizations. So I hope we get to see the impact of that kind of funding soon as well. So I'll stop there. If there are questions, I'm happy to respond.
I was going to say, so that was certainly a fulsome review of where we are against a lot of things. And in the spirit of accountability, I think it's important that we are clear about where we are, what we've done, and what we're going to do going forward. So if the commission will excuse that pushing of accountability, I think that's something that we have to do going forward. Before we take questions or comments, I noted that Commissioner Natalie Hopkinson has joined the call and wanted to make sure if any of the other commissioners, Maggie, Kimber, Cece, Carla, or Jose, have you joined the call? Anyone joined?
I'm here, Cece.
Oh, good. So Cece is here and Natalie is here. Anyone else? Good. Just trying to keep the record.
I am
Sorry?
here. I've been
Yeah,
through
Jose.
the meeting.
Good,
You
good.
started speaking, young man.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Great. Just wanted
Yeah,
to make
no,
sure. Thank you.
thank you.
So questions, comments to Haran on the director's report?
I have a question, Reggie.
Yes.
Haran, on the website that's interactive, if I've sent some things, and how do I get things put on the website, or at least considered to be put on the website, that pertain to community events or diversity issues or articles that I'd like to have more widely dispersed? How do we do that?
The best way to do that, Rona, is to send it to Jeff and Patrick. They are Jeff also serves as the press information officer for the district, so he'll make sure that whatever we post aligns with the directives of what agencies post on websites. So I'd just suggest sending any and all of it to Jeff so he can check it against what we're able to post, and we will push it on through. We do a combination. We do social media. We do fairly regularly, update things through social media fairly regularly. So
Okay.
as soon as you get it, we can, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the last question is, in the very beginning, you talked about diversity, and you've looked at a lot of state arts agencies to see what they're doing. Have you looked outside of state arts agencies? Because there's an awful lot of cities and states that necessarily don't subscribe to the state arts agency rules.
We are a state arts agency, so we've looked at, it's a good idea to see what ideas are out there. We've kind of stuck to the state arts agency model because that's how we function, but there may be some good ideas we can adopt.
Yeah.
If you have suggestions, I'd be happy to take a look.
Okay, I have different things I've looked up over the past, and Elaine also had a whole bunch of things that she's looked up as well. So
Yes,
I'll be happy.
perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And actually, to that point, when I talk more about the vision for the commission, once I've really gotten input from all the commissioners, and we can come up with a joint vision for the commission. This notion of us really being sort of this beacon at the national level. So I want to steal all the good ideas from across the country and other places that we have the wherewithal to implement, so that we really become that model for commissions going forward. So I know that requires a lot of work, and one has to crawl before one walks and walk before you run, but I think we should aspire to being that. We're in a very unique position as the nation's capital, and I want us to exploit that as much as we can. Other questions, comments? on director's report? Yes, Hector?
Yes, just simply, Haran, one of the concerns that I have is that with this very crowded field that we're dealing with for the summer, for all the panels and everything else, do you feel, because the whole idea, do you feel that you have enough of a team that you've set up, that you are able to match all of these? Because with the ever-changing dynamics that we're dealing with, I'm really concerned that while we can aspire to do things and be very proactive, that that you have enough of a team to be able to do this, in a highly qualitative way, because it seems that so many things are in process, but it's just a matter of, I look at when are we going to complete this project, and do we have the people to be able to assess and complete, as we go. And I know that there are some things that are ongoing, but then there are finite projects that you have to deal with. And I just am concerned, whether or not you have the support system already built in, because I only see the same players that we've had before, and we also have a lot more things to do and accomplish.
It's a fair question. I'm glad you're bringing it up, Hector. We have to assess and reassess and continue to assess. I think for now, what we've done well is have a grants team and a public art team in place that can that has each person has a decent number of portfolios to manage. And so we've managed to hire enough to distribute those portfolio numbers better than before. But there is more now. There's the strategic plan, there's the public art plan, there's the task force recommendation, right? So we do have to set aside some time, and that's what I'm hoping we can do between now and really in the next couple of months is this is a 3-year plan as far as I can see it, so I want to be able to, we've actually begun, but we want to be able to plug everything into a logic model type model where we look at timing and we look at how many staff members can go, what is the capacity and that kind of thing. And I'd feel better answering after that. Right now, I don't have a ready answer. I'll just tell you that that's the approach, and we'll take sort of the more immediate things first and keep building out. So
Okay.
yeah.
When I talked about my sort of aspiration of the beacon on the hill, I said to the extent we have the wherewithal to do it. So that's the qualifier, and we have to prioritize and at least do the most impactful things with the resources we have, and then decide if we can and should afford to increase the resources. But let's first start with who we have and what we have, and to maximize that value in the market.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This
Other
is
questions or comments?
This is I was trying to get an update on the grants director position. Where are we at with that? Is there anything the IDEA committee can help support with that? What is update?
This would be an internal process, but we are hoping to make an offer. Kwanis, the HR person who was handling it left, and so we're working with DCHR now to continue the process. So we're hoping within the next 2 weeks that we can make an offer to a candidate and have someone in place.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, Haran, that this is the priority in our mind because this is an important position. So it is not missed on us that this position needs to be filled quickly but well.
Yes,
the right person. So.
Correct. We've honed it down to a candidate that we're interested in, and so we're beginning to do the sort of the offer process now with DCHR.
So, Cornice, does that satisfy you for now?
Just wanted to get an update, so thanks for that.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I'm not trying to rush anything. I think it's important that we understand what we're doing and everyone's on board. So I thought it was a good report, but I want to make sure if there are any other questions or comments or offers to help, that we give the commissioners an opportunity to do that. Good. So with no other questions or comments, I guess we can
Alma, I think Alma was, sorry, Reggie. Alma might be getting on. Yeah.
Alma, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was muted. I want to follow up on what Hector had to say, because as I was looking down the list of panels and the number of commissioners filling those slots, and the staff involved, and the panelists involved. It's really sort of an overwhelming task. But back to the staff members. About a year ago, there was a report done on the capacity of the commission staff to handle the grant responsibilities. How, and you mentioned that we have hired new people, but how are we measuring up there, Haran?
Thank you, Alma. We are, I don't know if measuring might be the word to use, but what we have done is hire, I can't think offhand, David, is it 3 people or 4 since that report? Plus contractors. I want to say 3 for sure, maybe 4. The recommendation was to reduce the number of portfolio cases for each grant manager. So the rationale of hiring more was to kind of even out the numbers. The numbers are slightly, this is getting a bit in the weeds, but they're slightly deceptive because some folks have fellowships with individuals and some folks have organizational grantees. The fellowship individuals it's heavy on the front end, but it's lighter on the reporting side. For organizations, it's pretty much hands-on throughout. And so there's different things to look at when you're looking at balancing out portfolios for different grant managers. But I feel that we've done that successfully just because we have a good number of grant managers in place. The summers get really busy with panels. It's almost 5 days of panels throughout the summer, really, to get. And as as more money comes into our budget, as we're looking to do more with the grants funds, this is how it's going to go. We understand that. So we're looking to really sort of find ways to manage differently. For example, I'll give you an example. With the grants team, grant managers have their portfolios to manage, but then each grant manager also has a task that is, for everybody. So one person may be tasked with scheduling panels. One person may be tasked with jungle lasers, putting in the reports and checking on the reports in jungle lasers. So we're tag teaming and we're working with staff members to cover our various bases in a way that isn't overwhelming to them, but still gets the work done. So right now, I think we're in a good place. But as things ramp up, we have to take another look at capacity and see what that leads to.
Well, I was thinking that as we add more application opportunities, this becomes even more of a task.
Right.
And that really has struck home this year when I looked at Gretchen's list.
Yeah. Yeah, it's close to 50 panels, 42 or so panels that we're running. It is a heavy lift. I won't minimize that both you and Hector are seeing, but hopefully, I think for now we feel okay. As we look at, if we're looking at increasing staff members, we have to think about the capacity of the office. We're sort of busting out at the seams right now. So there are a number of things we have to balance out. I think for right now, we have a good plan in place and everyone is sort of moving along. But as we grow, it is something that we have to sort of keep going back to and looking at. So I'm glad, in a way, you guys are also appreciating the work that staff puts into, this. So that's kudos to the staff as well. Yeah. Thank you.
This may sound, I'm sorry, this may sound strange, but actually this is a good problem to have because there's so much need out there and glad that we're becoming more aware of it. Not that we can meet all the need, But to Alma and Hector's point, we need to, and to your response, Haran, we need to make sure we align our resources, our ability to serve with that need. But to know that
Absolutely.
need is out there and coming to us versus just dying out there, I think is actually good news, Net.
We don't want to die. Yes. Thank you.
Exactly.
And if I may, if I may, Reggie, also, I just want to acknowledge the staff for keeping up with everything that has come their way, considering that we are now in person and that you're still make yourself available for the community to look at whatever applications, and you do the virtual trainings. And I know that both the staff and Reggie are looking forward to continue capacity building. In other words, like some wise person said, which I think was Jesus, it's better to teach people how to fish than to just give them the fish. Somebody repeated that recently to me. So
This is Gretchen. I have a question or comment.
I'm not sure if Jose was finished. I know he's frozen, but I wasn't sure if he finished.
Oh,
Okay, Gretchen, we'll let you go on until Jose unfreezes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to mention that what we have talked about is finding a system, some technology that can help us through this mountain of work that's going to become a real mountain, not only as we go through the grants process, but after the paneling process, we then have to get all of these grants and all of this money out. So I know the commission has been looking at or has purchased a system that will help facilitate some of this. I'd like to find out more about it in terms of the actual technology, because that will help us a lot. We work very hard, but I want to make sure we're working smart and that we have the right kind of technology that will help us through this.
mm-hmm. We have good technology. We have to be trained on it. It's all, it's always a balancing act, guys. I'm not gonna, say something that isn't true. We purchased smart sheets about a year, maybe 8 months ago or so, in the hopes that the project management piece locks into place. But we need to find a time to train for it and use it, in a way that is productive across the board, that different teams can work with that, with the ticklers and the reminders and the sort of the workflow. I'm also looking a lot at service blueprinting models, because a lot of it is design. You have to step out of the weeds and really look at what's working, what's not, how are we working internally, how are we working with sister agencies. So we'll be doing a lot of those evaluations, and I think we need to do those periodically anyway. We need to do those probably every quarter or so to see how things are. So we'll have more to report soon. Gretchen, thank you for that question.
Good. Well,
So
thanks. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just had a really quick question, hopefully.
Natalie.
Welcome, Chairman Van Lee. Very happy that you're on board. Hi, Haran.
Hey, Natalie.
Just real quick, you mentioned July 12th is the time when the staff will be back in person. I wondered when the commission is going to be back in person.
Oh, up to you all. We are happy to host when you're ready. The offices are open. So we welcome the opportunity whenever you all are ready to come back in person.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say that my notes say that our next scheduled meeting is Monday, August 16th at 5:30 p.m. It's my understanding that normally the August meeting ends up being canceled because people on vacations and that sort of stuff. If that is the case, then certainly our September meeting should want to be in person.
Good.
I think that's what we're planning around.
Good.
So if I could step off the agenda for a minute, then do we want to officially cancel the August meeting now and move to a September meeting, or what process do we normally use for that, Haran? So
Reggie, there's the August meeting may be necessary. I'll defer to Gretchen and David on this. We are there's a grants committee meeting that's going to take place to look at the general operating support. So the timeline is early August, August 10th-ish, the council is going to vote on the BSA. Once that's done and that goes through, we then have the green light to begin the conversation around the General Operating Support Grant, which is our largest grant program. And so there needs to be some scaffolding in those conversations. So there may be an August meeting necessary to go through those funding, at least the approach to the funding recommendations, to prep that for the September meeting for that final decision of the commission.
So it sounds like for now, we should keep that meeting on the calendar.
Yes, sir.
And if things need to change later, but we'll keep it on for now. Is that
Yes.
fair, Gretchen?
Yeah, absolutely, because the grants committee is going to have to meet at least twice before that meeting so that we can come up with alternatives for the full commission to decide. The bottom line is we're getting this extra money that was before the CAH money, so we're going to have it back, and we've got to come up with scenarios as in terms of the percentages and how to actually split it up and all that. So yeah, we're going to have a couple of meetings, so we will need that meeting.
It sounds like the August meeting is going to be an important meeting, quite
Yes.
honestly.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Alma.
Can Gretchen get those dates out for the meeting, please?
Oh, well, yeah, we can, oh, for the grants committee? For the,
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I'll talk to Haran and David so we can come up with the exact dates.
Thank you.
Sure,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, excuse me, Reggie, does that mean that the August 16 meeting might be changed depending on the other meetings that Gretchen will have about the grants?
No, I think it just says that the August 16th meeting will happen. Will
Okay.
most likely happen. I think that's what it's saying, because there was
Well-
the possibility of canceling based on history. But given where we are this year and the need to get this extra work done, I think we should keep the meeting. Now, reality can change sometimes, but right now, I think the expectation would be that meeting would be August 16th still.
Right, if there's anything, I'll be out of town
Perfect.
from the 7th through the 14th. So I've got
Yeah.
to go through the grants committee piece. We have to have one, Reggie. The question
Yep.
is, can it be the 16th or can it be a week later?
Okay.
Right.
We'll-
I'm out of town as well for vacation. So we'll yeah,
sort that
talk.
out.
Right. Yeah.
Let's not try to do calendars on this call because that is seldom successful.
Right.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions on the director's report? Otherwise, thank you for that, Haran. And we'll
Thank you.
move on to the finance update. Cece?
Hi, good evening. I did not get a chance to convene the finance committee. I know, Reggie, we talked about committees and I don't know if you're going to speak on that, but I would just like to defer to Brian to give an update and I will gather the committee before the August meeting.
Great. Brian?
Good evening, all. Welcome, Reggie. It's a pleasure seeing you Friday, and especially on The View and everywhere else. You know, you're a man about town. And our other celebrity, Miss Masters Berry, seeing you on TV as well yesterday doing your thing. So, yeah, we know that CAH is really in the community. Where I want to start with is to basically talk about our if Patrick, if you're there, if we can go directly to the budget report and share that on the screen. Patrick. Thank you, sir. Okay, that might be a little small for everyone. I don't know. Thank you, sir. Okay, and so with this report, it's basically telling us how we're doing in terms of the agency's budget. The agency's budget is $38.7 million. And of that $38.7 million, we have available $8.3 million. The biggest part of that we should pay attention to, that's worth mentioning, is the large pot, which is the subsidies and transfers, otherwise known as the grants pot, which is $5 million, $5.2 million. And majority of that has gone out in the form of enhancements awards. And so we're still continuing to receive the actual documentation coming back from the grantees. At this point, to my record, I believe I have 70 grantees, 70 enhancement grants awards that we are waiting on. That was 70 of 174 organization enhancements. The individual enhancements if I'm not mistaken, has not closed yet, or it will close shortly. And then from there, we'll continue to process the grant awards as we receive them. It is important to mention that right now, it's like I said, $5 million is out there. And I'm not sure exactly how much is left outside of the fact that we've done $2.3 million in organizations. So the individual portion has yet to come in with a solid number, and I would assume that within the next week, I'll have a firm number. The other part of that is how we're doing with contracts. Contracts continue to roll. We have a substantial amount of money left still, and that's because we have a couple of projects that are in the pipeline with our contract and procurement office. And so those contracts will begin. I'm not sure that all of them will get to the final destination before September 30, but I believe that we have enough funding in our budget in 22 as well to make up any additional funding that might be needed to continue those contracts. From a personnel perspective, the agency currently has 6 vacant FTEs. As Haran stated, we're actively recruiting for at least 3 of them, and a couple of them will be actively recruited probably towards the end, meaning September, once the senior grants management specialist has been brought on board. So are there any questions about the budget? No? Okay. The other report that I generally give everyone here is a synopsis or a snapshot of the actual purchase orders as they were established by grant type or by grant program. The most important thing, as I stated there again, is the portion that's here under program 2013, which is the Arts and Humanities cohort, and that's the $3.8 million. And of the $3.8 million, there's $1 million that are in organization enhancements that are still outstanding that we anticipate receiving shortly. And again, once we get a firm number on where we stand with with the individuals, then I will be able to give you a definitive answer as to what is left over in terms of if we have any additional funding to increase awards further. Any questions there? No? I'm sorry, go ahead, someone wanted to.
Yes, when you say there are additional funds, there may be additional funds to distribute to awards. Are these distributed equitably to all the program participants or grantees? So, because obviously everybody was impacted by the same issues, or is there a different metric, or is there a separate application process for that? Because I knew there was an application process for some of them, but on this additional revenue, if there was any, I should say, income, money, is that distributed equitably to all the organizations in a proportionate sort of way?
Right. So while I would love to get the answer here, I would be remiss to not punt this to David Markey, our deputy director, as he has been the program manager who oversees exactly how the funding is allocated from a grant perspective. And he can probably give a little bit more in terms of what metrics is used or what percentage of the funding just goes to existing grantees versus the application process that you just alluded to. David?
Okay.
Thanks, Brian. Hector, I hope to your point, the enhancements that we issued, they were organizational enhancements to existing grants, and there were almost 200 of those. Brian mentioned the number 70 we're still waiting on. 43 of them we're hoping will be underwritten by American Relief Program funding from the NEA. So that's why the bulk of them are still hanging out there. The relief grant for individuals was a brand new grant that was open at the end of June. And so, as Brian said, I'm working with our contractors to sift through all of those and to try and get as many of them across the finish line. And as you said, by next week, we should have a better sense of the total number of those we'll fund. One of the challenges we have with our budget is that each month is a gift. We don't know if we're going to trend on budget, below budget, what the variance is going to be. I know last year there was a month where our income was $1.8 million, and the following month it was $3.2 million or something like that. There seemed to be no rhyme or reason to it. So the hope is that by the end of the month, we'll have a better sense of how much money is still in play. One of the challenges we have is that we only have 2 months left in the year, and oftentimes it's hard to move that money and get people paid by the end of the fiscal year. But we will reassess it towards the end of the month. As I said, once we know how many of the individuals we're going to be able to fund through the relief grant.
I just feel that it'd be good to know that a certain number of organizations benefited from this, relief fund, that they were people who were already struggling. We know that they're struggling because no arts organization is, living la vida loca. They're having a hard time. So the sooner it gets to them, it's much easier, plus much easier on them so that they can become sustainable, and the whole issue of sustainability. I think it's very important. But thank you.
Thank you, Hector. I agree with you.
And if I may just piggyback off of that as well, Hector, and everyone here on this call, if I can really strongly emphasize your support in making sure that we reach out to the extent possible to the grantees that are pushing their applications or that have yet to cross the finish line. We do recognize that there are a lot of people out there that are still in need. And we do also recognize that some of them are in the pipeline. Some of the information may need to be further pushed in terms of getting the information back to us so that we can get them funded as quickly as possible. I mean, that would certainly help me in terms of getting the purchase orders awarded or the enhancements or the dollar amounts enhanced on the purchase order. So again, any way that I can help by way of providing reporting that could help the grantees get their information across the finish line would be helpful.
Good. Anything else in you, Brian?
No, sir. I just look forward to continue to work with everyone here. And Reggie, I'm definitely looking forward to your tutelage in terms of some ways that we can do some business process redesign, some re-engineering, or some ingenuity to our process, something that might give our process a jolt that we might not have seen. From what I understand, your wealth of knowledge and your experience and exposure is something that we could all use a little bit of. So if we can schedule some of our time with you, that would greatly be appreciated. I look forward to it.
Yes. I mean, I didn't want to get ahead of myself because I wanted to spend more time with all the commissioners, but there certainly is technology and there certainly are business process redesign things we can do that can allow us to scale the people we serve without having to scale the staff that do that work. But we will get to that, and I will give as much time as you need to offer the perspective I can bring from my experience at Booz Allen and at the Call-Out Group as well. Other questions or comments to CC or Brian on the budget? And I'm sorry, on the finance, rather. If not, it's my understanding that we have no other committee reports and that we have no new business on the calendar for today. So before we move to adjournment, I wanted to check one more time on the roll call to see if anyone has arrived or if I would mark them as absent. Maggie, did you arrive to the call? Kimber? Carla? So I will mark them as absent, and otherwise everyone else is here. And I'm really looking, I'm sorry.
Sorry, this is Corny. I have a quick question before you adjourn.
Yes.
Okay, so I was wondering, Haran and David, I know this might just be a really random brainstorm, but I've been processing a lot of the things that have been happening in our communities lately with our kids, and seeing the rise in crime and things that are going up. And so I'm wondering, has there been any type of interagency collaboration or conversation about what the commission can do to help create either initiatives or support programs? Because we know the power of the arts, and we know, we know if we start bringing arts, and we know the baseline of things is economic issues, right? But what are some things that we can do as interventions, as artists or grant makers for the arts, to help our babies, our kids? I just really am concerned about our kids right now.
Who are you directing this question towards?
Oh, more so to like Haran, because of the question was more so, has there been any type of like interagency conversations around what we can do to help support?
It's a good question, Quenis. There hasn't been any directly interagency conversations, but I do know that the mayor, with the federal monies coming in from the post-COVID, sort of the pandemic monies coming in from federal sources, has committed in her budget quite a bit of money towards combating gun violence. I'm also, David and I have been a part of a couple of community outreach programs by Ward 8, by Councilmember Treyon White, that are pointing to the potential of arts activities in relation to gun violence. There hasn't been anything directly that I've also thought about reaching out to other agencies, the Parks and Recreation Director Delano, and a couple of others to think about this. But I'd welcome any ideas you have, Juanis, or even specific, this area, this thing, observations, or if you know of organizations on the ground that are doing this kind of work, to see what we can pull together. There's nothing concrete right now that I can say exists.
This is just me brainstorming, because this has been unsettling for me, because I was a teacher, and so I just love my kids. And so
yeah,
I'm thinking about, like, is there a way we can possibly look at, like, the way we revamp arts education programming, or like arts education grant making? Like, is there a way that we're focusing on specific type of initiatives that make sure that we're helping our kids? So I do have some grassroots organizations that I've personally reached out to, so I can give you the names of that. But I know there's a lot of other commissioners who are connected in the community as well, who probably could serve first.
It's a good conversation to get going, Quanis. I'd welcome a chance to brainstorm and figure out what we might be able to do in the next year, from the ground up, kind of what's needed out there and what are we able to do through our grant making or through our programs to address those things. I'm happy to engage in it.
Haran, it's
Yes.
Mary. As a former art teacher, I agree with what Quinisa said, and I also would like to really have us think about more mentorships and more young people shadowing artists and spending time in behind the scenes as well, with many of the art, many of the performers, but also to go to studios and workshops to see other artists at work, and to have them serve as interns, or, as I said, in mentorships. I think it's important, because there's so many young people that have incredible talent, and they just don't know how or where to expand it, to use it, to show it. And I think, as a former art teacher, this is always high on my list. Yeah.
Thank you. David, you may have some insights from the arts education side. I know there are regulations around students working with any person. I mean, the teachers, the teaching artists would have to be approved and certified to work with children. But you may have some specific insights yourself, David, from having
Right. Yeah, just, very briefly, when we, the applicants to the arts education programs and even the field trip experiences grant program, I mean, much of the work is focused on socio-emotional learning, trauma-informed practices, acknowledging what's happening or what has happened, in multiple ways in the world over the last 18 months. And we don't want to be neck deep in the direct implementation of work, but we definitely are part of the conversation, and trying to better craft our grant making in arts education so it reflects the need. The Celebrate the Creative Spark program is open at the moment. There are artists that are working in summer school that we're funding, and many of their short residencies are focused on socio-emotional learning and developing socio-emotional quotients and helping young people process. But we can always do more. Now we have two rock star arts education folks, Allery and Camille, and I know Allery has lots of great ideas, so which hopefully we can realize moving into next year.
Yeah. I mean, when I talk about the commission being that beacon on the hill, this is exactly the type of things that I think we can do. And if not doing it, we could be a convener, or we could be the person that makes connections with people. And if you indulge me just for a minute, when President Obama appointed me to the President's Committee on the Arts and Humanities, one of our initiatives was called the Turnaround Arts Initiative, where we infused artists, working artists into schools. And after 2 years, and Booz Allen did all the quantitative analysis to really understand the impact. And it is very clear from the work we saw that in those schools where you infuse that arts education, the truancy rate went down, the grades went up, the discipline issues went away. I mean, it was really amazing. Those kids that came to school because of the arts program and then discovered that they learned while they were there. And many of them never became artists, which was not the point, but rather that was so transformative for those young people. So again, we don't want to sign up for more than we can do. We don't want to step out of our bounds unnecessarily. But if we can aspire to that sort of impact in arts and humanities in the district, that's what we should aspire to. So we'll figure out how we can do it.
So I'll just say, Reggie, I was actually at NEA when that was done. And so I know about turnaround arts, and there are several turnaround art schools that are in the District of Columbia. Right. So, so anyway, have all of that, have all of that background as well.
There are plenty of organizations already that have that inroad into the community. For example, Gala Theater, WPA, they have a lot of investment in the community. It's just a matter of expanding those programs and helping them support addition, their expansion to reach a broader and a larger number of students, to give them, motive to be in places where they're using constructive energy. I think that's really key, to keep them constructively and artistically engaged, not to become artists, but really to just expand their minds.
Right. And what we may find is, because we do have a resource issue, we can't do everything, but we may find the imprimatur of this commission in being a convener around making that happen. So we wouldn't have to do the heavy lifting, but we could play a critical role in helping make it happen. So we will get to that, but I think these are the sort of things after I get a chance to speak with all the commissioners and we put together this joint vision, I'm hoping this sort of idea will bubble to the top and we'll find the resources to step out and be that leader in the community around arts education in this way. Other questions or comments? Otherwise, again, I thank you all for enduring me in my first meeting. I look forward to having the one-on-ones with all the other commissioners, the ones I haven't yet, and then coming forth with a joint vision that is shared by all of us for the next 3 years that would incorporate the strategic plan, the public arts plan, the idea committee and the task force work, et cetera, all wound together in a pragmatic way that reflects the resources we have to get it done, not theoretical things, not trying to do more than we can, but prioritizing our work in the right sort of way. That's what I aspire to. So I thank you. The next meeting will be held Monday, August 16th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you,
Thank you.
and take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you.
Night, Reg.
Take care.